Hi, Scott Hunter here. I'm the minister of Valois United Church. Some of you have known for a long time, and others, of course, for a much shorter time. I've been the minister for 9 years now, and am entering into my 10th year here, which is really hard to believe. But during that time, I've been very honored and privileged to see some of you grow from being little tiny people to being, great big teenagers, and that has been my honor and my privilege to share in that part of your journey with you. I've also noticed over this time that people have changed, and people have gotten very comfortable using electronics for connecting and for learning and for other things in their lives. And so portions of this confirmation preparation are going to come via electronics. And so if you happen to have questions, you can ask me in person, of course, but if you want to send me an email, provided you have parents' permission to do so, you're more than welcome to do that. I am your minister, and I'm the minister of the church, and I'm always available to you, and will try my best to answer the questions that you have. In the United Church of Canada, confirmation is sometimes called renewal or affirmation of baptismal faith. And that's exactly what it is. It may be a point of renewal where you're touching something that you've had for a long time, or it may also be affirming something that you wish to affirm, your baptismal faith. Now, this is just one step on your faith journey, and I know that, and you probably know that too. But confirmation or affirmation of baptismal faith is an owning of your own faith. And your own faith is something that's portable. It's something you're going to carry with you throughout your life. And so it's something that's very, very important. Until now, your faith has been held in trust for you. It's been nurtured and tended and cared for by other people, perhaps by parents or caregivers, but certainly by church. Maybe you've been coming to Sunday school, or maybe you've been coming to church on occasion. It's something that other people have been looking after for you. And when you enter into this confirmation process, you're owning your own faith, which means you're going to have responsibility for caring for that faith, for attending it throughout your days. Now, we look after our faith in many different ways. We do this by praying, or by gathering to worship, or to share in learning events of some kind, perhaps by serving and loving other people in the world, or through acts of justice. But generally, we are attentive to our conscience and also to the presence of God's Spirit in us and in others and in the world around us. And we follow the life of Jesus as our model for living. Now, our faith is something we carry with us, and you're going to have responsibility for it. So look after it, tend it, and care for it. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about me and about my faith journey, and then I'm going to give you some homework related to learning a bit more about your own faith journey. I came from a place called Peterborough in Ontario, a small city, and I had two parents growing up. Both of them had been school teachers. We went to the United Church when I was a little boy, and at some point when I was a little boy, they changed traditions and they became Baptist, and so I also grew up inside that tradition. And my parents are still involved in that tradition, that expression of Christian faith, and they're very happy there. And but my sister and I, Susan, I'm about 2.5 years older than Susan. She and I both have come back, if you like, to the United Church of Canada. She married my best friend. My best friend was a United Church of Canada minister, and so now she's a minister's wife in the United Church of Canada. And for myself, I came back to the United Church because I was much more comfortable there. Comfortable in its strange combination of both openness and also within boundaries that it has that share responsibilities for ministry. nationally, regionally, and locally, and inside a local church congregation. And I like the way that it does that balance of things. Now, maybe in your faith journey you chose the United Church of Canada, or maybe you grew up inside it, and so it's something that you've grown into from the inside out. Both approaches are perfectly fine and take us into this place where we need to own our faith. For me, growing up, community was very important. And I learned a lot about community inside church. And having a place inside church was very important in my understanding of my own life and my own self. I like people, and I need people around. And so I learned as a boy to treasure community. And I also found that the community was a source of great strength and faith as I went beyond that, as a young man in ministry and also as a minister today. Community is very important. I remember in early days in church, an older man, his name was Mr. Nichols, and Mr. Nichols had polio when he was a young man, and his arm didn't work quite the way it should, but he would use that arm every Sunday. He would raise that arm and shake my hand. Something very difficult for him to do, but he would call me by name, and he would do that, and I knew that it was something very special to him, and it became something very special to me. I remember Ms. Binstead, who would come forward sometimes in worship to pray for everyone, and she would pray with such conviction, with great warmth about people, and so I remember that. I also remember the choir, and I remember hymns, and I remember the minister. The minister always seemed to speak a long time. I don't know why that was, but it seems to be something ministers do. And I remember countless people in that place who did things, who cared for other people in tangible and practical ways, and who shared their faith that way with other folk, including me. When I got a little bit older and I went away to study, I went to university. I went to 2 different universities, as a matter of fact, and I met people in both places who were wonderful. But I remember people in a community who accepted me and invited me in and made me part of their church, McNeil Baptist Church. And I learned things about justice, and I learned things about caring for other people in different ways through them. I also remember the people of the chaplaincy at McMaster, where I was working as a student. I remember Philip and Allison Newell, the chaplains, and the love that they showed to students like me, tangible, and they would have us over each month for a party in their house, and they would pay attention to us, and they would share their family's life with us. And so community was important then. And then I also saw many expressions of community. I saw that in the psychiatric hospital where I worked. I saw that in the churches that I have served. I've served churches in St. Thomas, Ontario, in Hamilton, and in Pointe Claire, Quebec, 2 different ones, by the way, both suburban parishes and both very unique and different in their own ways. And also with churches who were in small and rural settings down near the border here in Quebec, near the United States. But community has been very important in my faith, and I've learned a lot of things by listening to other people and receiving their encouragement, and also being with them throughout the various stages in their living. Community has been valuable and important. Scripture has been important in my life. Learning and memorizing some of it in early days. I remember some of those verses, and I have a terrible memory, but I remember those verses for some reason, and they speak to me at different points in my life and in the things that I'm greeting. I have a prayer life. I have other things that also motivate me too, and keep me hopeful in my living. And it all comes back to this faith that I have been given in some ways, and also have had responsibility for, speaking to me throughout my days. I have a family. I have a wife, and I have 2 children, and I have a sister, and I have her family, and I have a church family here at Valois. And my faith is very important, speaking to the things that I greet in my days, helping me find the direction I should go and the way that I should live. My faith has been very, very important to me. Well, you have a faith, and you're going to own your own faith, and what I want you to do for homework at this time is I want you to speak to the people who have been part of your church life. I want you to speak to people who are part of those early days, perhaps parents or a parent, or maybe a family member who has brought you to church. And ask them, well, why church? Why did you bring me here? What happened that I was given this? How did this go on? How did you choose your church? How did you make that choice? Maybe you're baptized or maybe you weren't. But you can ask about church. Why church? What was important in that decision for them? That's your homework. I want you to do that as soon as you can. And then next time we meet, we'll talk about some other things that are part of your confirmation preparation. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.